Today's video, we're going to be talking about functions. Now, what exactly is a function? A function is a relationship comparing two different variables, usually x and y, where each x value only has one distinct output, all right, which would be a y value. So an example of a function, if I'm looking at a table, I'm looking at x and y, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll just assign random y values, 0, -2, 4, and 7. Okay, each one of these inputs right here has a distinct output. Now, an example of not a function would be something that looks like this. You have your x and your y. You have 1, 2, 3, 2. And then with the same y values. Since these two x values repeat, that makes it not a function. So we're comparing what's functions and what's not functions, and you're looking at the tables. All you're doing is looking at the x values. If the x values don't repeat, it is a function. Now, graphs is a little different story. So if I have a graph, something that looks like a function would look something like this. This is an example of a function because it passes the vertical line test. The vertical line test states that no matter where I draw a vertical line, it's only going to intersect one point. So this is a function because it only intersects one point at any time I draw a vertical line. Now, an example of not a function would be something that looks like this. In this area, it does pass the vertical line test, only intersects one point. But once you get to here, it intersects at more than one point. So it has more than one the same input values have this different output values. So this is not a function because it does not pass the vertical line test. So that's how you can tell whether whether a relationship is a function or not, is if it passes the vertical line test, only passes through one point for any vertical line you draw. Now, the most common functions we talk about are linear functions. So with linear functions, they are all in the form of y equals mx plus b. Okay. Now, the different letters mean different things. The m stands for slope, the steepness of a line. It could stand for your rate of change. So like in miles per hour, or dollars for each book you buy. Anytime you see a word problem with per or each, it's going to be related to your slope. Rise over run. When you graph a line, it's your rise over run. Also, the change in y over the change in x. The increases in the y values over the increases in the x values. All right, when you're looking at a table. Now your b value, okay, that is your y-intercept of your line. y-intercept, meaning it's where the line hits the y-axis. So if you're looking at a table, is where x equals 0. And it's also, if you're looking at a word problem, it's where you start. It's your starting value, where you begin. So some questions might involve word problems, and they give you a starting value or beginning value, and that is what's going to go in your B. Okay. So, graphing linear functions. If I wanted to graph y equals 2x plus 1. First thing I would do is identify where do I start and what's my rise over run. So my starting value is right here. That means you start at 1 on the y-axis. So you put a little dot there at 1. This value right here represents my rise over run, my slope, how steep the line is. Rise over run. So 2 as a fraction is 2 over 1. So that means I'm going up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, and making points at each of those stairs. Bottom stair there. Up 2 over 1. In the opposite direction, you have to go down 2 to the left 1, down 2 to the left 1. And there is my linear function. Connecting all those dots. So your rise over run, it's telling you how you go up and to the right, or down and to the left in this case. All right, let's look at another one. Let's look at y equals negative 3 over 4x plus 2. So I start at 2. That's where you start. And my rise over run is going to be down 3 to the right 4, because that is my slope here. So down 3 to the right 4 is this point right here. Down 3 to the right 4. It's going to be right there. Up 3 to the left 4. Right there. So it makes your nice straight line. No, it's not that straight. A little bit better right there. There we go. Okay. So again, the most important parts of determining your linear function is where you start and your rise over run. Now, reading a graph, say we're going to give you a graph and you have to determine the equation. So let's do that. Let's look at this one right here. So first thing I do is identify where I start. So I'm starting at 6. So my B value is 6. Then I try to determine my rise over run. So from 6, how does it get to the next point? It goes down 2 over 3. So my M is negative 2 over 3. So then my equation would be y equals negative 2 over 3x plus 6. Now, that's what happens when you're given a line. Now, sometimes you're not given a line, you're given either a table. So if you're given a table, for example, 0, 1, 2, then 3, 5, 7, you would have to find your rise over run. So taking any 2 points, figure out your rise. So this is going up 2 over 1. So my m is rise is 2 over run, which is 1, which is 2. Now to determine where I start is whatever's next to the 0 as an x. Okay, if the y is 0, that's different. That's a y-intercept. But in this case, this is where I start. It's at 0, 3. Okay, so my b would be 3. So now I have my m, I have my b, so my equation would be y y equals 2x plus 3. Now, not all tables are going to give you the y value automatically in it. So let's look at another table. Okay, so this table doesn't tell you what the y-intercept is exactly, but I still find my rise over run. So this goes up 8 over 2, which is 4. So that's my slope. Now with my equation, now with my y-intercept, I have to plug it in to y equals mx plus b. I have to plug in one of the points along with my slope. So I plug in my m, and I plug in a point. So I'm going to plug in 2 10. So 10 I'm going to plug in for y, 2 I'm going to plug in for x. So we have 10 equals 4 times 2 plus b. Now I have to solve for b. So make my equation, set the line down the middle, figure out what 4 times 2 is. 4 times 2 is 8 plus b. And then you subtract 8 from both sides. That's an 8. That's an ugly 8. Let's fix that 8. Okay, subtract 8 from both sides. Okay, and then you would get 2 equals, these cancel, b. So now I have my m is 4, my b is 2. So my equation is y equals 4x plus 2. So that is the equation for this table. So we took a look at what a function is and what's not a function. We took a look at linear functions and the different parts of them, the slope, the y-intercept, and the additional meanings of them. And we took a look at how to graph linear functions. We talked about how to create equations from graphs or from tables. And all these apply to our functions review lesson. So the main important part of remembering this lesson is the y equals mx plus b and what that means, right? The m is the slope, rate, rise over run, change in y over change in x. B is where you start, it's where you begin, it's where your y-intercept is, it's where x equals 0, right? So all these parts are important in determining your slope and your functions, and those are what's the essence of this whole function unit. All right, so work through these problems. If you have questions in class, please let me know. Thank you for watching today's video.